Hi, everyone. Welcome in. Go ahead and get my screen shared. Welcome in, everyone, to this week's cataloging webinar. My name is Rhiannon Williams. I'm a product owner here at TLC. I'm joined by Kim Mumbower, product manager here at TLC as well. And our focus is on cataloging and item workflows across the TLC library management software solutions. So today I'm going to be talking about some of the new and exciting things coming in version 5.8. This is in our ongoing series of webinars, and Kim and I were just discussing about this. We also have a bunch of blog posts that will be coming out soon on LS community, and lots of great resources talking about all of the changes coming, not just to LS2 cataloging, but also to all the different modules of library.solution for schools. But today we're going to be talking about some of the new fields, as well as some of the new display of some title information that's going to be in version 5.8. And as I go through this today, I'm going to be talking at a high level about a lot of the changes, and then we'll dive into some of the specifics, and then I'll demonstrate what that looks like within the 5.8 version of LS2 cataloging. And if you have any questions that you have for Kim or myself, feel free to put those in the Q&A box. And then if you have any other questions for other catalogers or any comments or things that you want to say, feel free to talk in the chat. And this session is being recorded, and the recording of this will be available up on LS Community shortly after our webinar today. So go ahead and get started. So I want to talk just briefly of overview of some of the new fields and some of the changed and improved display across the title editor and the title view display in LS2 cataloging. And so a bunch of different areas were touched, either adding new functionality, new displays, or just changing them and improving them. And this includes the new inclusion of enhanced contents notes, some changes to the display of summary notes, a improved display and sort of an overhaul of how publication information works, as well as date information. The addition of qualifying information fields for standard numbers, as well as some display and also addition of some fields related to genres and roles not in our TLC curated glossaries. So we're going to start by talking about the changes to the contents notes, including the new enhanced contents notes. So this is an enhanced contents note, comes from the Mark 505 field, just like a basic contents notes, but these have the second indicator of a 0 as opposed to a space for the basic contents note. And these enhanced contents notes are often used for, I see them very often for works like DVDs or CDs where there's many different tracks, vinyls that have different tracks on them. So it's a great way to separate music tracks and give information related to each of those tracks, or for things like anthologies where you have multiple titles contained within a single instance of a material. Then you can include all of the title information, the contributors, miscellaneous information, as well as general information related to that contents note. So you can include information like in the general information there included in the subfield A, say that this is disc 1 or side A, and then add all of the titles for the tracks that are on that vinyl, for instance, and then add the contributors that are a part of that particular track, as well as some miscellaneous information. In the example here, it's like playtime information as well here. And the nice thing with the contents notes here of this enhanced contents note is that you can display and add multiple notes here, as well as multiple basic contents notes. And I'll show sort of what that looks like in a title here in a moment. But so if you have multiple discs for like a CD collection or multiple vinyls all together, then you can add multiple contents notes for each individual side and for each different disc. And these, additionally, there's some changes to how that these are arranged with this new display of the contents notes for the enhanced contents note. This is now enhanced contents notes and basic contents notes are now within their own little section called contents notes. So those have been pulled out of the general notes section, and now they are in their own section header, which we can see in a moment on the sidebar navigation panel. That will help us jump around in our record where we need to. And so all of the other notes, all the other note types like your general notes and all of those except summary notes, those are all still included in the notes section, which I'll show in a moment. And additionally, for these enhanced contents notes that have the title information in them, previously these titles were displayed in the title section of the editor as a contains title, because they are technically a contains title there. But it was definitely we found that from feedback from internally and from customers, we found it can be really confusing to determine where that title was coming from, if it was coming from the contents note itself, or if it was coming from somewhere else in the record. So this is now changed so that all of those titles included in the enhanced contents note are all grouped together in this display. And just as they were previously, these titles are still indexed for searching. So that makes it a great resource to include all of these individually here in an enhanced contents note, because each one of those title fields is indexed. And so that makes it a easier way for patrons to find those materials. And additionally, these enhanced contents notes, just like our basic contents notes, are a cataloger formatted field, and they may appear differently depending on your institution standards, or if you are part of a larger consortia or something like that, may have some formatting guidelines for that. There's some general guidelines a lot of catalogers follow. Like for instance, here for this particular CD, the track or the playtime information for each individual track is included in parentheses. And then there's a double dash at the end so that it separates each sort of group of title, contributor, miscellaneous information in the display. And I'll show sort of what that looks like in the display title and all of that. So I'm going to hop into LS2 Cataloging. I'll go into another title, and I'll show you the one I grabbed for my screenshot there, but I'll come down here. So here on our new view title landing page, here we have our contents notes section. So that's separate from our other notes as well as from the summaries. So we'll come down to contents notes. And here we have our enhanced content note. This is the one I had a screenshot of, but I want to show the difference in how these look in comparison to a formatted basic contents note. So here I have all of our different track lists here and miscellaneous information. You can also include contributors here. It can be very long if you're including particular for music pieces, if you're adding all the instrumentalists and the vocalists and the producers and mixers and things like that. So but that's totally an option to add that all in here. And then this basic contents note has all of the exact same information as the enhanced contents note, but it is, it's all formatted together in this one text field. and it has separated, and they're not in individual subfields. So that's sort of the difference in the display of them. But if I come into our edit title, if I choose edit, so here we are now. I'm gonna go ahead and come down to our contents note. There we go. So here, this is what the editor view of this looks like, where I have the option to add the general information and all of the related subfields here. And then from the editor here, I also have the option to just remove the entire contents note group, as well as to add additional groups of title, contributor, or miscellaneous information. And again, these all are working sort of in a chunk or a group, and that's a change that we've added in a couple of different areas within LS2 cataloging for how some metadata displays. Since a lot of these, this information is intrinsically tied together, so we want to display that information together so that it's all within context, so we understand what the which playtime relates to which track name and which contributors worked on which each individual track or each individual short story in an anthology or something like that. So having all of that information together here is very handy. And additionally, so that we have the enhanced contents note and a basic contents note here, but I also have the option to add more basic contents notes here. So you can add all of those as needed. I can change my type here to an enhanced and add as many additional fields as I need here. And so that is a bit about how all of that looks for in the editor and in the title. And additionally, with the cataloger formatting, adding in the double dashes and parentheses and things like that, these do display very similarly in LS2 Pack. So when you have essentially the enhanced contents note is going to display very similarly to this basic contents note. Just a lot of that information is now split up, and that allows us to index all of these titles rather than having it just, sort of keyword indexed with all of this information here. So that adds another layer of discoverability to this title. So I'm going to go ahead and, I'm going to discard my changes. I've added empty fields. There we go. And you can see, yeah, it may like open up your fields and then shrink back down as it saves and kind of condenses it together. So that's something to note, that it may page may look a little funky there for a second, but it's a pretty fast process to help contract everything all together. And yeah, so that's a brief look at our contents notes and all of that together. Let me see. Looks like we might have, let's see. Mary asked, will the basic contents note self-populate the enhanced contents note? So it will not, because the basic contents note with the formatting here, they're not separated into individual subfields, and it doesn't, the system doesn't know where to place that information. But it is pretty easy to like copy and paste that information into these. Or I also, like when I'm reviewing titles, when I'm trying to match them in ITSMARC or from a Z3950, I like, picking a couple of them, reviewing them. And the ones that have a formatted enhanced contents note is usually the one I like to go with, because it can be kind of a labor-intensive process to add all of that information in there. So the basic contents note does not automatically convert into an enhanced contents note because it doesn't have those subfields divvied up. But once you upgrade to version 5.8, anytime that you are bringing in a title record that has a 505 field with the second indicator of a 0, then it will display those here in this new enhanced contents note display. Jenna asked, can you show how a song track will display with multiple contributors? Sure, I can totally do that. I'll go ahead and pop in here to this particular title, and on my other monitor here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull up the Wikipedia page for this for one of these songs. Let's do Dolly P. We'll do, or I'll just pull up the whole album. It's one of my, it's a great resource to come in here and pull out, look at the information on who all worked on songs. Wikipedia is a great resource for that. So yeah, so this title, so track 9 for Dolly P, I can add in the contributor information here. And again, this is cataloger formatted. So in terms of how this displays and how you want to format it may be up to you. So for instance, I may want to add a comma after my title. And then I can add in my contributors here. So I can add in Dolly Parton, and then, or I may want to add like a semicolon, it may depend on how you want to group this information together. So I may add Dolly Parton as a contributor on here, and she is or I can also format it as like lyrics by Parton and music by, and then add all of the other contributors here. So Beyonce, let's see, and so on. And looking here, trying to find this other person's last name so I get all the people in here correctly. But yeah, so that's an example of sort of what this looks like now. And again, with all of these fields are those like expandable text fields. So I can expand those here. So I have like lyrics by Dolly Parton, music by Beyonce Knowles Carter, as well as by, see, find this other, don't see who it is. So, oh, there it is. And then Leah Kelly. And then I can also add in other information here as we go for produced by. And this was, again, produced by Beyonce. And this can be a little bit of a digging game, especially with Wikipedia, if you're using that as a source to pull some information in, because they often will just include a stage name or a last name if they've referred to them previously. So, but that's sort of what this looks like, adding in those contributors here. Again, the exact formatting of how you want to include that information may be different. Yeah, like Kim said, they're free text, so you can determine how best to punctuate it. Yeah, a space, hyphen space between each piece of data, or that row within LS2 cataloging. So, you can format how you want the contributors to display. You could just add all of the contributors in that field, just do Dolly Parton, comma, Beyonce Knowles Carter, comma, Leah Tekele, and so on. Yes, as Kim said, yeah, it's similar to that statement of responsibility. So, and for the subfields here, so this general information is the subfield A for the contents note, and then titles are in subfield T, contributors are in subfield R, and miscellaneous information is in subfield G. So, and then these are the general information, of course. So subfield A first, and then it goes TRG, and then TRG, TRG. So That is how the information is split up. Yes, yep. No, you are absolutely fine, Wendy. Thanks for asking. That's it's great to ask questions about all of this. It's a different display and everything looks a little bit different now for sure. And as Kim said, we are going to have blog posts with a lot of details and information in there as well, for sure. And yeah, so that's how this display is now in the MARC record with the subfield T and then the subfield G. And if I come down here to our title Dolly P, so I've got subfield T and then the subfield R with all of that information, and then a subfield G after that. So that is the enhanced contents notes, as well as the display and addition of multiple basic contents notes. So next, I'll talk about our summary notes. So this is very similar, new functionality as far as the display, where we can now display and add multiple summary notes from LS2 Cataloging, and summary notes are coming from the MARC 520 field. And this will add additional functionality, allowing catalogers to add summary notes either from multiple sources or in multiple languages, which is really great. I talked about recently in the critical cataloging webinar not too long ago, talking about how important it can be for adding summaries and metadata fields that are in multiple languages. That makes it more accessible and discoverable by your patrons, especially for materials that are in non-English languages. But if you have vendor records coming in, or you're pulling them from other sources, or modifying a English language record to reflect a Spanish language material, you may not have all of that metadata in there in the language of the material itself. So having multiple summary notes can be super helpful. Also, just for the ability to add summaries from multiple sources, if you want to pull a summary from the Amazon listing, as well as the summary that came from the back of the book, just depending on what might be useful for your patrons and students and customers. So I'm going to show what this looks like in LS2 Cataloging. I'm going to come back to here and show this title. So we have a book here about football, and I'll come down to our summary notes. And so this was the one I had the screenshot of. So now I've got two different summary notes here from two different sources, but they are, it's a English translation of the Spanish one. And I can also add multiple new summary notes from here as well. Choose to add another summary note from here, and just like all of the other ones, they are the expandable free text fields, and they also have the little character wheel here letting you know if you've filled it up or not. But having multiple summary notes allows you to have more information in there, so that you can split information up more easily for the display, and so that you don't have giant massive chunks of text in there in your records, just depending on how you want things to display within LS2 Pack. So that is a bit about our new summary notes and how they display. And I will, add an empty field. And just like with the other fields where you have larger amounts of text here on our view title screen, now you will have the expand and collapse buttons, so that you can easily, if you are skimming this title and you want to see, oh, is there actually a summary here in the other language, then you can see that, expand it, make sure that it's got the right information in here. And then if not, then you can go ahead and edit your title and add that information that you need. Let's see. Oh, Catherine asked, can you show how that looks in Pack? Oh, the enhanced contents note.
Yeah, contents note. That question came in. And the second one is also.
Make sure. Yes, I will go ahead and publish this. It may take it a little bit to show up in LS2 pack, but I want to make sure I add this back to my title space. So I will come back to this once I know that the deltas have picked it up and it's displaying in there. So I'll make sure to get back to that here shortly.
Second
Oh, and
question is also
Sarah's,
that, yeah, same title.
yeah, yes. So that's multiple eyes. Yes, that is the, sorry for barking if you can hear that. That is the, that's just how the titles are formatted here. That's how they were written for display. I think it was meant as like a stylistic choice here. But yeah, that's why you have the multiple eyes in titles here. And it could be helpful to add, alternate title information in here too for as Blackbird with one eye, because someone may be looking for that and may not be searching with the fancy stylized title as well. So that's something to know. So next, I will come in here to talk about our next change, which is in publication information. So we made some changes here in the publication information section to display all of these in new groups. So similarly to how the title, contributor, and miscellaneous information displayed in a little group together in enhanced contents note. Now we have here in the publication information section for different types of publishers and distributors and things like that. Now we have the name, date, and place all displaying together in a group. And like or similar types of publication information, like for instance in the screenshot, I've got multiple publishers here. They all display in the same publisher, in the same publisher group. And additionally, copyright dates all display in a group here. And I can show you that in the editor here shortly. And so this publication information field information here in the editor is populated by the 260 or the 264 field. And again, that is grouping together the name, date, and place information. And now that we have the date information included here in publication information, we have removed the date section that you have been previously used to seeing, so that they all display as part of publication information. And additionally, since that date section of the editor has been removed, there's been a remove permission for editing date information. And now that has been rolled into the permissions for publication information. So I'm going to go ahead and grab, sorry, closing the wrong windows. Go back over to LS2 Cataloging to show what that looks like. So this is the same title that I had my screenshot from, but we can show a little bit more of what that looks like. So again, this is our view title display of this. So I've got multiple publishers here. And then I also have my copyright date information. And I can add additional copyright dates as needed. So if I come down here to publication information, I can add addition statements, and then I can add additional publishers or add additional copyright dates. And again, similarly to the options before, you can delete a single line of the smaller group of publication information, or delete the entire larger group of publishers. So I can delete all of that information together, or delete each individual copyright date, or I can add another information group. So say I want to add a add distributor information. So I can add that in here, or add production information and things like that here as well. So that is a little bit of a change in how these all display, but this is related to some feedback we got from the different, Valerie also. So the different types for in the publication information. So we have option to add copyright date, distributor, manufacturer, phonogram date, production, publisher, and reprint date. So those are all of the different types of publication information that are included here. So it's all the same publication types before, and then we also added in copyright, phonogram, and reprint dates from the date section previously. And so now you can add those individual subfields of the date information as related to the particular publisher and publishing place. And this is something that we changed due to some cataloger feedback so that it was just more clear and it was more transparent and more clear to the cataloger what date related to which publisher, especially for a title like tried to find an example that had multiple publishers over time or different names for the same type of publisher that had been acquired and something like that. But things that may be published by one and then be published by picked up by a different publishing company in the future. We want to have that information and want to be able to reflect that that date information accurately, and you want to know where that's coming from. So that is all about our publication information section. And next we'll come in here. Oh, how's the reprint date coded in Mark? I will come in here and add a reprint date. We'll add an example one. We'll do 2025 and save that. I'll come into our Mark view.
Rhiannon?
Yeah.
It doesn't work correctly in LS2 cataloging. It
Gotcha.
doesn't add, typically in Mark, the reprint date is added in the 008 so there it would move the 1990, I can't read 1990, it would move the first date over and then put the reprint date as the first date, date one.
Gotcha.
But
Yeah.
unfortunately, LS2 cataloging has never done it quite right.
Gotcha. Okay.
It will appear in the 264 though. That date should appear as a
Yes.
264. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not changing the
It's just not the
00.
Mark 008 field, which is okay at this point because we're moving away from using Mark data up there. They're with Library of Congress is not putting as much data in the 008 field anymore. Anyway, sorry. Want to jump in and interrupt you there.
Thanks. That's super helpful, Kim. Thanks for pointing that out. Yeah, that's something important to note. If you were expecting it to change the 008, it does not change that, but it does add it as a 264. So that is a bit about the changes to the publication information. So I'll pop back in here to our slideshow and talk a little bit about the new standard numbers. Yes, so it's just another 264 subfield C. Yep. So for our standard numbers, we have now added in the option to add qualifying information in a subfield Q to a variety of standard number fields. And those ones that are available to add the qualifying information are listed here. So our very commonly used ones like ISBN or UPC, EAN, or or other unknown publisher number and other ones. So all of these now have this new qualifying information column, and they have a new text box here where you can add that qualifying information in. And these, you can add multiple subfield Q subfields on a particular standard number in that same field by hitting the enter key after you're typing a string of text. So I can show a bit about what that looks like, but there is this new little X button to remove that, as well as there is display punctuation on the view title version, but I'll show sort of what that looks like here in LS2 cataloging. So if we come back into another title, see which one I was thinking of. I think it was this title. We come down to our standard numbers. Yeah, so this is the title I was showing before. So this is what the the display in view title looks like. We have our standard numbers here, as well as some qualifying information. So I can come in here to our edit title mode, pop down to standard numbers. And so this is what this looks like. So we can see the difference between those standard numbers that do not currently allow the qualifying information, or that it's not relevant for the particular type of standard number. So for when you have a mix of those fields that cannot have qualifying information, and then those that do, you just won't have the text box there. But this is how the sort of display of all of these look like. So I have the option. Previously, I know that this was one example where it had, it looked like this before I edited and added this new subfield Q qualifying information on here. And just as it did before with when you're adding in ISBNs that have, you know, information related to the binding or the edition of the book in parentheses, or, you know, after the standard number, this again will just match only on that standard number that's defined for the field. So for an ISBN, you know, it's looking for 13 characters. So that is going to remain the same. It's not matching on the qualifying information. It's just matching on the defined standard number, you know, numeric characters that are in the field. But this allows for more clarity as to the actual fields here, and for that separation of the information from the main subfield A with the standard number information in there. Just makes it a little bit more clean and clear as to what information is there, and can help with some information in the display. Let's see. Jenna asked, can you tab into different fields to navigate? Oh, sure, yes. That is something that's very helpful, as you can tab through here. So if I wanted to add in, I'll just add in another, I want to add in more subfields here. And as you can see, when I didn't hit enter after here, it didn't actually like select it as a new subfield. So I want to make sure that I do that, and I can tab through and add more information as needed. So makes it a little bit faster if you are going through here, or if you are using a keyboard for navigation through LS2 cataloging. And let's see, our 020 subfield Z field supported. So subfield Z is some of that information may be already included, but I don't believe that we have the ability to add a subfield Z currently. It may be, you know, helpful. Yeah, go ahead, Kim.
I was just going to say, yeah, we don't have that. There hasn't been a demand yet, so that's why we haven't put that into development.
Yeah.
If it's in the
But is that
record, it stays
something?
in the record. So if there is a subfield Z present in the record, it'll stay there. It just isn't giving you the option to add one.
Mhm. Yeah. If that's something that you would like to see added to LS2 cataloging, and it's something that's super important, then I would definitely submit an idea for that. Yeah, I'll show you what that looks like. Valerie adding in multiple subfield cues here. So I'll go ahead and save as a draft here. And come into our mark view. So I've got our standard number, our first subfield cue, and then I added additional subfield cues after that. If I wanted all of that in one particular subfield, I would be able to do that by, I'll just go ahead and do that where I did. So depending on where you hit the enter key or do a carriage return within this text box is how it divvies up the subfields that you enter on a particular title. So that's a little bit about how this works. Go ahead and save this and hop back into our presentation briefly. So you're nearing the end, and then we'll talk about some questions. So next, we also have a little bit about genres that are not in our glossary. So we've added in this next release the ability for genres that are not within our curated TLC glossaries to be displayed within the editor, and we'll give you a little alert. So it has the little alert icon like an unverified authority, as well as a tooltip like a mouse over information that it's not found in the glossary. But this information is retained in the title record and now displays within the title editor, and it allows you to see what's there, all of the genre fields that are included in the title, and then you can easily, remove those if you don't want the ones that are not in the glossary, or they can be retained as well. And this little alert and the mouse over is something that is only viewable within the edit title mode. It displays perfectly normally within the view title mode of the title. I'll show sort of what that looks like so that you don't you won't get this like alert here saying that it's got genres not in the glossary like it does unverified authorities. It's just like a little hint to you from the title itself in case you wanted to know what was in there. Let me see, which title was it? It was this same title. We'll come back in here. So here on our title, so I can see my genres here and they're just formatted with the display punctuation. So it adds a comma after each one, and that's just for the display here in view title. But when I open it up in our edit mode, and come down to genres. So I do see I've got my little alert and the little mouse over information here. I do have the option to remove this genre here. Currently, we don't have the option to add a genre that's not within the TLC curated glossaries here from the text box. So right now you can still just only add those that are included in our genre glossaries. And these are a glossary that Kim and myself are updating very regularly as customers request new terms, or as lists are updated, like the national genre form terms are updated and things like that. So as these are updated, we add new terms to there periodically. But if you come across a particular genre that you would like to see reflected in the glossary, or you want to see something in there, feel free to submit an idea or reach out to Kim or myself. We're happy to add those to the glossary. As a note, we try not to add too many that are very similar. And if you are using a very specific particular term, as far as for maybe genreification at your particular library or school, or for for just ease of finding materials, if you use genres in a unique or in a particular way, this will allow you to add those in an external MARC editor, and they'll be retained during the import process and display here in the editor in LS2 Cataloging. So that's the main change on genres.
Rhiannon, there are a couple of questions about genres.
Yeah, for sure.
This might be a good time, unless you want to wait until later.
Oh, yeah, no, go right ahead. Yeah.
Valerie asks, does this mean there'll be unverified authorities for genres now? Will these display under the authorities tab?
No, so these terms here that they say they're not found in the glossary, these aren't saved as a unverified authority. This little alert is mostly just for for reference, or just to alert the cataloger that, hey, this term's not found in the glossary, and that this genre is in the title record. Previously, these genres were either stripped out of the title record, or they may be in the title record but didn't display here in LS2 cataloging. But now we've allowed them to be retained in here, and they will display. just so that the cataloger knows what all genres are included in the title. So these don't create new unverified authorities. It's just the same little alert icon.
Okay, here's another question. Are not found genres browsable, searchable like unverified authorities are? That was
So
John's question.
yeah, so they're searchable in terms of being able to with keyword searching, I believe, but they aren't. They're not all kind of like grouped together like unverified authorities to be able to search through all of those. So that's something to note. If one of the benefits of the glossaries is that, if you are selecting a term in the glossary, then it makes it easy for search and discovery so that they're all in the same heading and that the formatting's all the same. It's got the same punctuation and things like that. So that's just something to note is that if you come across these and you don't want to have that genre that's not in the glossary, they can be easily removed with a little remove button as well.
And there's one more question, and this is sort of complicated from Sydney. Will genres still be replaced when importing, overlaying a title record? And she gives a couple examples. 655, second indicator 7, thrillers with fiction in parentheses from LCGFT changes to 655, thriller fiction, TLCGT.
Yes, so that is a feature and a function of part of a process that runs on import called Purify, and it's showing a lot of it does many different steps it goes through to make sure that we don't have like corrupted data and that there's not missing fields, like it's not missing a control number or missing an 008, or there's not too many characters. There's a lot of different things that this Purify process does during import, and one of those is one that's like less loved and has kind of created a couple of issues, and that's that genre replacement and consolidation that can happen. And so we know that this is something that is a bit of a pain point, and it's something that we are actively working on and developing right now. And will be coming out in the next releases, some changes to those automatic cataloging processes. So that actually kind of leads into the next point that I wanted to talk about, the next improvement. So unfortunately, those will still continue to happen right now, but it is something that will be able to be changed in the near future. But I will briefly talk about the role terms, and I'm sure many of you may be aware and have run into this before if you were trying to add role terms to particular contributors in a title record from using an outside MARC editor and bringing them in and them being stripped or things being changed by that automatic cataloging processes. So we've made changes or started the development for the changes to the RDA Express option, similar to the Purify. And this is the first sort of step in that process. So similarly to the genre terms that are not in the glossary, we have now added the ability to display RDA relator terms, or those roles that are not in the glossary. And so they similarly display with the little alert icon. Oh, sorry. And they display with the little alert icon. And we actually do allow for the addition of role terms from the title editor that are not in the glossary. So I'll show what that looks like. And similarly to the adding qualifying information, you type in the text box, hit the enter key or return carriage, and then it adds it as a new subfield. So I'll show what that looks like in LS2 cataloging. I'll come up here, just go ahead and save. I'll come up here to this particular title. And then open this. So for our contributors, so I have a video game here, and There's a couple of newer RDA role like relator terms that have been added, and we are in the process of updating that. It's not as it's a like hard-coded glossary as part of the RDA Express process. So it is something that has to be, there's more development and more involvement related to updating that particular glossary of terms. We are nearing getting a new version of that added to LS2 cataloging here soon. But one of the terms I know that has been added pretty recently that is not available in here right now. Let me find it. Make sure I find the right one. It is the term game developer. And so this game was developed by Local Thunk. So I can search here for game developer, and from the glossary, nothing's returned there. But if I say, I actually want that term, I can hit the enter key within here, and it will now add it to this particular contributor. Again, it displays with a little icon saying that it's not in the glossary. Again, it doesn't add it as a an unverified authority or anything like that. And we don't have any reporting currently set up for finding those either RDA relator terms not in the glossary or genres not in the glossary. But something I could see being very helpful in the future. So if that's something that would interest you and you think that would be helpful for doing some of those cataloging like data maintenance tasks and seeing, what roles do we have that are not in the glossary? Do we want to include those? Is there anything that's miscellaneous in there that we don't want? Or genres as well. If that's something that interests you, we'd love to hear feedback and add ideas and upvotes on LS ideas. But that's the main change here, is that you have the ability to add a new role term that's not in the glossary from this text box, and it will display. And this does get saved and retained in your title once you save it and publish it as well. So these do get retained here. Unfortunately, due to those processes that are running on the import, role terms that are not in the glossary are going to be stripped out when they come in. They can be added again from LS2 cataloging. As I said, this is just like the next step in that process to allow catalogers to be able to add those terms not in the glossary. And then the next step coming in our current development is some changes to your options as to when RD Express runs and some of the what that process does to your metadata. So that is all about the role terms and how they display here. Let's see if we've got any questions related to that. Do you see
No, but
Hannah
there are
has...
questions.
Oh,
There are
yeah,
questions, but
yeah,
not about RDA Express.
gotcha. Let's see. This one from Hannah about Purify will become problematic for our local genre headings coded subfield 2 local. So I don't believe so. I've not heard of that.
Yeah, that was my response. I'm not too sure. I haven't really tested around that either. It should
Yeah,
stay. My expectation is it stays because it's got a different a source of local. But
right.
I have a note. I'm gonna test it. I'll let you know, Hannah.
Yeah, yeah. And if you've come across any instances of that causing issues with your local genres, we'd love to hear about it. Because that's something that, you definitely don't want to be overlaying or changing your local genre terms that you're using. And so those should, display up here as a term not found in the glossary, since those have a separate source. So hopefully that is not occurring. But if you come across that, and we'll do some more testing on it, just feel free to reach out to us. Before I forget, before we run out of time, I do want to view this title and pack to show you what that looks like. Oh no, my pack is not working. Oh darn. That's a shame. I wonder if I have another build that I can show you what a enhanced contents note looks like.
Yeah, there might be something in local. I don't like a music CD, but that might take a little while to find one.
Yeah, let me
Find an
see.
example. While you're doing that, I'll answer Jenna's question. She asked about, will the multiple summaries update allow us to easily delete the film review 520s that have been previously hidden in marked summaries in LS2 Cat? And the answer is yes. I want to answer it live so everyone would hear. Now that we have the summary notes split up into multiple text boxes, you can delete any of them that you need to. The way you can add them, you can add new, or you can delete the existing. Finally, got that done.
Yeah. I'm trying to find another title here that's got a enhanced contents note in it. Here we
Another
go.
question
Let's
Jenna
see.
asks. Oh, I'll stop. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I think it's actually my pack is actually not running currently, so I think that's what the problem is.
We'll have to
I don't
maybe
think I
show it.
restarted services.
Maybe our
Yeah.
next Q&A session in a couple of weeks or something.
Yeah, if I
We could
can't
talk
find
about it.
one here, I've got another environment open I'm looking in, but we'll see. Uh, we can continue with questions in the meantime.
Okay, I'll answer Jenna's question. There's one last question
Okay.
here. Jenna asks, are the contents of the field highlighted or selected when you tab into the field? This is a feature that went away, but I miss it for easily deleting information. Yeah, the technical term is a focus, cursor focus when you tab into a field. And I have not looked, but I'm guessing it's not there. It's one of those things I haven't paid attention to because I rarely tab. So I will check on that, but I have a feeling it's gone away at some point and we probably need to add that back. We probably will. We're trying to do things having to do with accessibility and trying to improve stroke keyboard actions so that they work the way you expect them to. So
Yeah.
good question, Jenna. We might put that on as an idea too. So we can know how many people would like that.
Yeah. Are the contents of the field selected when you highlight in there? Yeah, it doesn't seem. Yeah, no, it goes to the end of the actual field itself so you can add information, but it's not all selected. So that's something I could definitely see being an improvement in the future, so that the focus is on there and that those are actually the information is selected that's in there. So thanks for that feedback, Jenna. Let's see if I can find another example of this here.
Yeah, Wadey makes a good point. Having that, if you're tabbing, having that field highlighted where your cursor is sitting makes it a little easier to see as
Yeah.
you get interrupted. There might be some technical issues on some of the fields because they're using what's called a component. I'm thinking of the glossary searches, but the developers are smart. They can usually figure out things. So.
All right. I think I've got one up where I can show you this. Maybe. Hmm. Maybe not. Sorry. I was hoping I'd be able to find one that would have all of that in here. Trying to find one with an enhanced contents note is a little tough, it seems like. One that's already in here. Let's see. Maybe that we just have to show this in our next Q&A. might have more, be able to find a better example that would actually show up in PAC. Don't think I've got one. Oh, let's see. Is this one? Nope, that's a normal basic contents note. I'll show you what that looks like briefly because the display of them is very, very similar. I'll share my screen here. So this is one of the titles here. So this is a basic contents note. This one here that's formatted like this, and essentially the enhanced contents note is going to display the same way with the cataloger formatting in here with the double dashes and parentheses and things like that. So it's going to display the same way. It's just the enhanced contents note allows you to like chunk it out into those different subfields, and that allows us to still index the titles. As of for this, the Carol of the Bells and Joy to the World, those are just indexed as keywords as part of the notes. They're not indexed in the title index. So if someone's searching for that title, they may not be able to find it as easily if they're searching, limiting by title specifically rather than just like a general search. So that's one of the benefits of using an enhanced contents note and being able to separate that information out, but they will display all together in the same format. So they're going to look very similar. So that don't know that there's necessarily a need to have a basic contents note and an enhanced contents note with the same information. It's just kind of, displayed, separated out differently, but displayed the same. So I think that's most of what I've got here. But yeah, that is all I had to cover today. We're at time. So I want to thank you all so much for joining us today. It was great getting to go through all of the new functionality related to new fields and things. We're really excited for you all to get version 5.8 in your hands here very shortly. So do you want to talk about, we do have another webinar, our next cataloging Q&A session with Kim and myself. That's going to be on April 25th. So in 2 weeks at 11 a.m. Eastern time. And so I want to wish you all a great rest of your day and thank you for joining us for this webinar.